Let's talk about the stimulus package, because it's going to lead to the same point. Let me go with, which one? Chair, we got Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Republicans, right, in the Senate. We got Haley Barbour, one of their cherished governors. And then you got Tim Pawlenty, who's thinking of running for president. They all said the same exact thing. Their talking points now, apparently written by Frank Luntz, I'm just guessing on that one, is the stimulus, they can't deny anymore that the stimulus package created jobs. Every economist in the country is saying that it created, in the ballpark of 1.6 million jobs so far, but it will create about 2.5 million jobs. The CBO is saying that it created anywhere from 1 to 2 million jobs in the last quarter, okay? So, okay, they gave up on that. They can't say, oh, no, it didn't create anything. So their new talking point is state jobs. It's just government jobs and state jobs, and it's not private industry jobs. Those jobs don't count, okay? Now, I don't want to bore you with all of them. They all say the same thing. Pawlenty? All right, let's go with Tim Pawlenty, and he's going to make the same exact case that every single Republican on TV made this week. And then I'll decode what he's actually saying afterwards. Here you go.
What about the stimulus program? Do you think it worked?
Well, the definition of the stimulus program is we're going to take $1 from you in the private sector, bring it into government, spin it around, take 5 to 20% for overhead, and redeploy it into the private economy and call that growth. Economists call that transfer effects. So we need to be about real growth. We need to be growing the private economy. The stimulus bill was outsourced by this president to the United States Congress. It came back in an incoherent fashion. We could have gotten much more bang for the buck for much less money if they would have focused on those things that would have targeted at growing small businesses and growing jobs. For example, cutting the payroll tax. It was an incoherent, largely waste of money that is now sustaining government at a time when we need to be shrinking government.
Do you think it worked?
As measured by the administration's own goals and objectives, no.
Right.
They said they were going to...
What about the 12,000 jobs that were created in your state as a result of it?
Well, these are mostly government jobs. So what we're doing is...
So you didn't need those?
Well, we appreciate every job. But the idea that government grows the economy when all they really do is extract money from taxpayers, bring it into the bureaucracy, and put it back out into the economy on a political agenda is not growth. That's transferring money.
But would the economy have been in worse shape without the stimulus?
Well, they said if they didn't pass the stimulus bill, unemployment could go as high as 8%. It went to 10%. They promised 4 million jobs at one point, created or saved. The math around that is fuzzy. Everybody agrees on that, and they have failed on that objective as well. The economy and government is going to need to focus on growing the private sector, and what the stimulus bill mostly did is sustain government.
But you don't disagree with economists, including an economist who advised the McCain campaign, which you vouched for and could have been on the ticket of, which said, indeed, there is somewhere around 2 million jobs that have been created by the stimulus, that it could have been a lot worse without it.
David, I don't disagree that we need to do things to stimulate and grow the economy, but the way to do that is to take the tax code and extend the Bush tax cuts, cut the payroll tax, encourage growth in the private economy by reducing capital gains burdens. Don't put more burdens on the economy like this grotesque health care bill. Don't put on cap and trade legislation. Don't do card check. So the stimulus bill as a concept, stimulating the economy is a good idea, but they did it the wrong way. They should have done it through things that would stimulate private sector growth.
All right, there's so many great things in that. First, all the excuses. Oh, well, I could have done it for half the price, and I could have gotten twice the results. Really? How? Okay, second of all, these jobs don't count. They're government jobs. They're private jobs. They're state jobs. They don't count. Okay, so that's one side of it. But the more interesting side for me is what they wanted instead. Did you hear? They couch it in terms of small businesses. But is it really small businesses that they wanted to help? He keeps saying private industry, private sector. That's where all the tax cuts should have gone. We should have extended the Bush tax cuts. We should have cut payroll taxes. We should have extended capital gains tax cuts. Okay, now all of those, some of them help small businesses in some ways, but what they help most of all is gigantic businesses. Let me explain. Now, Obama is coming up with a new tax cut that says, look, if you hire new employees, we'll give you a little bit of a tax break. Now, for small business, that can help. We're a small business here at the Young Turks, and we're hiring people, and that might be able to help us, right? So now that can help small business and big business, as an example, right? And you could be on one side or another of that. But when he says, oh, payroll tax, a lot of small businesses don't make enough money to have a lot of payroll tax. But the giant corporations like ExxonMobil, well, they've got enormous profit that they don't want to pay tax on. Okay, whether it's payroll tax or they take the money and they invest it as capital and they get back capital gains. And right now they're paying 15, 16% on that, which is unbelievable. That's so much less than what you pay, right? And what Tim Pawlenty wants to do is cut it even more. And he wants to extend the tax cuts that Bush gave to the billionaires even more. He's using this economic downturn as an excuse to help the rich even more, to cut their taxes even more. He doesn't really want to create jobs. What he wants to do is, oh, it's a great opportunity. We got a crisis. Let's make the rich richer. Because that's what the Republican Party really stands for. So that's why you hear from Pawlenty and Barber and McConnell, and every Republican you'll see go on TV will use those code words. Help small businesses, the private sector. That's where we should get jobs through tax cuts for ExxonMobil. I mean for the small businesses. They are so transparent. Don't believe the hype.